Hello students, welcome to standard 11th and in CSDC. Now there is a considerable jump in the quantum of studies for you. In 11th and 12th, the amount of efforts to be put are much more than what you have been doing in school time. In 11th standard makes the foundation for 12th and 11th and 12th makes the foundation for further studies. So you have to study both these classes in seriously so that you understand all the concepts. As I told you, study pattern of these classes is different from school. Here you are not only to read the chapter and understand it, but also to apply the concepts that you have learned. Most of the questions asked in competitive exams are based on the application of these chapters. Anyhow, I will be giving you good practice in that regard, and if you do that practice, you will be very easily be able to pass the competitive exam in flying colors. Now let us start physics. Before starting the portion, I will just introduce you that this physics in semester 1, besides learning first two general chapters called physical world and then unit and dimensions, you have got mainly mechanics, all Newton's laws of motion and law of gravitation, universal law of gravitation you have to study and their applications. You have not studied so far rotational motion. Rotational motion is also included in the 11th standard. Besides work, energy, power and other topics that you have studied, but here we will be studying in more detail and in more application oriented. Then in semester 2, you will be studying about mechanical and thermal properties of matter. Matter means solid, liquid and gases. For gases we call it kinetic theory of gases. Then we will be studying about thermodynamics, which is a very important branch of physics, and waves and oscillations. So this is all 11th standard topics in nutshell. So today we will start with the first basic chapter called physical world. Now let us try to understand what we mean by the term science. Science has originated from Latin word called scientia. It means to know. In Sanskrit we used to call it vigyan. It means knowledge. So science means that we have to get the knowledge, or we should know why these things are happening in nature. For example, why sun rises in the morning, sun sets, and after 24 hours it again rises. Why this day and night takes place, why these seasons take place, how is the food digested in various animals. All those things what we observe in nature, that is called science, provided we systematically try to analyze the knowledge and organize in a very proper manner, so that we can pass this knowledge to our next generation, so that they can proceed further instead of starting from scratch. So science means understanding and organizing the knowledge that we have understood. Now what do we mean by this understanding? Understanding means we have to understand in depth. What do we mean by depth? Depth means not only qualitative but also quantitatively. I will explain the meaning. Like we know, Earth attracts all bodies towards itself. This force of attraction depends upon the mass of the body. So when I say depends upon the mass of the body, then this is qualitative answer. Whether it depends on the mass or depends on the mass square or square root of mass, how? Directly proportion or inversely proportion. Like this attractive force is inversely proportional to distance square of the body from center of the earth. So in this manner we should understand quantitatively, so that then we can make an equation. And once that equation is made, means we have got adequate knowledge of that concept. Now once we have made the equation, whether it is right, so we should verify it. And once we have verified it, we are confident it is right, so then we should be able to predict by using that. Then after predicting, if we find that no, there is some answers are not accurate, then we may have to modify it, change it. So knowledge has to be used practically. How to check? We should be able to predict, we should be able to then modify the things and control. Like if we have made nuclear reactors, so we should know how to control it, the knowledge, so that it will operate at the power at which we want. So the knowledge that we are gaining, by that knowledge we should be able to predict that process, modify it and control it. So that is science. So science is then what is physics? Word physics means nature. So when we are studying about the natural things in nature, what we observe, that is called physics. Like we are observing objects falling down the earth. Why do they fall down? We are observing rainbow. Why does the rainbow get formed? So whatever we observe in nature, we should, if we come to know the knowledge about it qualitatively and quantitatively, then that is physics. Physics was seeing planets rotating around the sun. Why are they rotating around the sun? So if we are able to, once we are able to understand the concepts by which things are happening in nature, we will be able to use that knowledge for our benefit. So that is physics. Then the rule says, what is chemistry? Chemistry means the matter which we are having, what is its structure, what is this, it is made up of what. Like you know that in stand answer there was an introduction that matter is made up of atoms, and atoms are made up of neutron, electron and protons. So that is chemistry. Then what changes are occurring in it? So iron rust. Why does the iron rust? What chemical reaction, what reaction takes place between it and oxygen? What are the factors which will increase or decrease the rusting? So all this is chemistry. The changes that we see happening in the composition of the body, of any substance. Now, you have understood the word science, physics, chemistry. As I told you that we should collect this knowledge in a systematic manner. So that systematic manner is called scientific method. So what is a scientific method? The scientific method has been broken into 4 steps. First is systematic observations. You should observe what is happening in nature in a very systematic manner. Note down so that the data that you collect is correct, is accurate. Then based upon that data, you may think that okay, these are the things. It depends upon the mass. It is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. So now you carry out the experiments to verify. So that are called controlled experiments, because our purpose is now to understand the various parameters that affect that process. So we have to carry out the controlled experiments in laboratories. Then after, based upon the results of the experiments and the observations, so we should do qualitative and quantitative reasoning. We should try to first reason out that on what factor depends, then how we can quantitatively include that factor. Then also we can do mathematical modeling. Mathematical modeling means we know it depends upon these parameters and all those things. So can we make a model of it? Mathematical model, and do the calculations and see that the results that we get in mathematical modeling is what we are observing. Also sometimes we do statistical analysis. Then sometimes we carry out the experiments to verify the theory told by some other scientist. Like someone has told certain theory, you are not fully satisfied. So you will plan an experiment how I should verify that theory. And once you have made that experiment, to find that the results obtained in the experiments are matching with the theory, so that is called verification. Or in case you are not getting the proper result, so then you may have to revise that theory, or we can say that that theory is wrong. That is called falsification of theory. We will be discussing that how these things have happened in the past. Various theories have been proved to be false, or they have been revised based upon the experiments carried out. So this is, now we'll go to